Chauvin guilty on all charges. What are your thoughts? I'm kinda surprised. I thought they'd nail him for manslaughter and third-degree murder, but I didn't think they'd get second-degree murder to stick. The second-degree murder is an unintentional second-degree murder charge. MN has some weird second-degree murder statutes. I was confused as well until read into it. It's basically a felony murder charge where if someone died while you were committing a felony you can be charged with murder. It says a lot about our society when we can watch and have video evidence of a murder and still be in doubt about the verdict. From a POV outside of the States, emo, it makes no difference unless major changes are actually being reinforced and made. As someone inside of the States, I agree. This is a positive step of accountability, but unless more are held accountable and broad changes are made, he will be a pariah. A sacrificial lamb. And little else. As a black man living in the States, it makes a huge, huge difference to me at least. After seeing this happen week after week, after watching George Zimmerman walk free, the idea that we can be killed without consequences really burns into you. Cops know that if they kill a black man, the law will be overwhelmingly on their side. A police officer killed a black man and was brought to justice. It might seem like a small victory to some, but it's different for me. If I'm ever in a situation where my life is in the hands of a police officer, maybe, just maybe they'll stop and wonder, I might not get away with killing this person. It is a small step, and there is definitely more progress to be made, but this was a victory for those of us that are constantly wondering if we'll be the next victim. Keep filming the police people. It was because of Darnella Frazier filming that brought police brutality to the public stage and started many calls for police reform. There also needs to be a call to make bodycam videos more accessible to the public. It's ridiculously difficult to obtain police body camera footage of your own arrest. The only reason this case got any attention was because an onlooker filmed the tragedy on her phone. It forced the department's hand, and made them release the police footage, and even that high profile of a case took far too long to do so. What's the point of bodycam footage on police when there's miles of red tape to view it? Citizens should be allowed full access to any and all footage whenever they please. Refusing to do so only means there's something to hide. Edit. I was being overly broad in regards to any and all footage. Of course, individual privacy is extremely important, and should be properly worked in. I think that the turning of his own department, and chief, against him in the case is indicative that Chauvin's on-camera case was such a difficult thing to defend that he was to become a sacrificial lamb in a sense. In order to defend the existing police establishment without significant change, they had to make a show of holding an officer accountable for crime. In this sense, I believe Chauvin is being used to diffuse public anger because he would have been a very hard case to justify and the people's discontent was reaching a boiling point. I'd love to hear fellow Redditors' theories on this. He was a bad cop and deserved it. Hopefully this whilst give other bad cops a reason to pause and wonder if they will be the next Chauvin. Might stop them from doing something reckless. Smartphones might be the cause of people not interacting face to face but are a brilliant way of capturing injustices. And GT. But are a brilliant way of capturing injustices. Just imagine if this happened to Floyd on the side of a remote rural road at night instead. This case doesn't get nearly as much attention. The problem is that police abuse without witnesses already happens. This is why bodycams should be standard. It protects the public and honest cops. He deserved to be convicted, but I don't have the same joy and excitement a lot of people seem to have about it. Shitty situation top to bottom and I don't find anything happy about it. This right here. When you look back on how most other cases against law enforcement have gone, I wasn't expecting the guilty on all charges. I was actually more shocked they reached unanimous decisions. If someone has a history of concussions and I hit them in the head with a baseball bat and kill them, I don't get to say they died because of their history of concussions. I'm glad the jury realized that. I believe that justice has carried the day. Though this is not the end, there is still an urgent need for police reform. For our sake as citizens and their sake as officers of the law. And AMP. #X200B. We need civilian oversight. No more officers investigating themselves. We need mandatory bodycams that are always recording. The technology is there to store a set amount of time, such as an hour before a button is pushed, which will save the set amount of time before the push and everything after it. Officers will not have to remember to push it immediately, they will have an hour, or more depending on the system to remember. We need mental health services in this country desperately, better training for officers, and better pay too. We can't expect to pay them poverty wages and get the best of the best. It's fact, unfortunately. We need a culture change. I am extremely surprised. I'll admit, after watching closing arguments and bits and pieces of the trial, I believed the manslaughter charge was likely. It seemed there could be reasonable doubt on the murder charges, and I expected those to be an issue for the jury. I was shocked when both of the murder charges came through. Genuinely honest legal question here. How do you get charged for second and third degree murder and manslaughter? I always thought since they're all different levels you'd pick the one that applies. Basically my question is, why is manslaughter even there when second degree is much worse anyway, and why still use all three and convict on all three? Here's my response to another asking the same question. 2020 Meganewton Statute 609.19, Subdivision 2, Clause 1, https://www.revisor.mn.gov/statute/site/609.19 Chauvin was accused, convicted of causing Floyd death while committing felony assault, constituting second-degree murder in MN. Likewise, third-degree murder, https://www.revisor.mn.gov/statute/site/609.195 in MN is stipulated when death follows an act eminently dangerous to others and evincing a depraved mind, without regard for human life. 2020 Meganewton Statute 609.205, Clause 1, https://www.revisor.mn.gov/statute/site/609.205 Chauvin was accused, convicted of causing Floyd's death via culpable negligence, creating an unreasonable risk, and consciously taking chances causing death or great bodily harm to another, constituting second-degree manslaughter in MN. Nothing says that these charges are mutually exclusive, and one can see that the statutes overlap in their applicability to Floyd's death. I presume the overlapping is acknowledged by applying concurrent sentences, rather than cumulative ones. I was listening to people talk after the verdict and in the past. Often the jury won't find all of the charges guilty, so prosecution will charge a few relevant to the case. So if the jury couldn't find him guilty without reasonable doubt for second-degree murder, the hope is they will find him guilty for third-degree murder, etc. I'm curious what comments the mods are deleting. Edit. I had this account for over a year and this comment tripled my karma LMFAO. Thank y'all smiley face. I was wondering the same exact thing. I was following some arguments and now the original comment is gone. It's only been an hour, give it 10 hours and then go to controversial. Thinking about how we all watched him murder George with our own eyes and we were still anxious about the verdict.